Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om. Pranam to all my dear souls. And much thanks to Global Yoga Summit for arranging this auspicious, inspiring, enlightening conference in Bengaluru today and tomorrow. I wanted to talk about not just the physical practices of yoga, because my guru, Brahmarishi Vishwathma Bawraji, actually just I want to check. How many people can speak Hindi? Can you raise your hands? And how many speak English and know Hindi? Oh, a lot. Okay, it's a tough choice to speak in Hindi or in English, but I think English has it. So, my guru, Brahmarishi Vishwathma Bawraji, he always stressed the importance of experiential knowledge and the Shastras. Because the Shastras, they confirm our experiences and they give us guidance as how to progress. And if our experience is not confirmed by the Shastras, then we need to understand that a modification of the mind has deluded us. And so it's very important to go back to the beginning of our practice and get back on track. So just to start with, I wanted to start with what are the actual definitions of yoga, because we're talking yoga, yoga, yoga. But what is yoga? Because in Sanskrit, meanings and their words are eternally joined. In Sanskrit, the word, the sound, the vibration, and its meaning is eternally joined. If you change the sound, if you change the form, if you change the word, then the meaning changes. So if we look at the Panini Dhatu part, which is an old dictionary from at least 5,000 years ago, he tells us that there are two verbs from which yoga comes. One, yujang samadho. In the meaning of samadhi is used the word yoga. Samadhi means samadhi, samabuddhi, stable intellect, stable wisdom. So this is one of the two meanings of yoga. The other, yujir yoge. Yoga meaning joining. Joining what? Dissolving our individuality in universality. Means dissolving that jivatma in paramatma and allowing the paramatma to flow through your individuality. Then Patanjali says, as you all know, you've heard it many times, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. I won't go into detail in this, because the next sutra in Patanjali Yoga gives the deeper meaning. Tada drastu swarupe avasthanam. In that state of samadhi, of stable wisdom, stable intellect, the seer means our individuality abides in its real nature, in its real form, beyond the limits of nature and individuality. That is the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The next thing is that the topic is mental health. You see, if I tell you these words in English, they don't give you an immediate image, and the word doesn't explain to you what it means. So what is health? Swastha. Swatishtati iti swastha. stable in yourself is health. So if you're stable in yourself, obviously there's mental stability, which then manifests through your physical as well. So what is it that is disturbing our stability? Why aren't we all stable all of the time? So Patanjali, as Guruji just mentioned before, he mentioned the vrittis. So Patanjali says, Vritteya, Panchateya, Klishta, Klishtaha. Now it's really important to understand Klishta and Aklishta. Because Aklishta means na klishta iti aklishta. So it means not pain and happiness. It means pain and an absence of pain. It means then, since every human being is seeking peace and happiness, it means that our real aim is to go beyond the vrittis. And this is what yoga is teaching us. Because we don't want pain and an absence of pain. We want Satchidananda. We want Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We want moksha. We want peace and happiness. We don't want an absence of pain. So what are these 5 vrittis? Praman, Viparaya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smritya. So correct evaluation, misconception, speculation, deep sleep, and memory. Note the last one, memory. It means that every time you bring into the present a memory, it brings the associated emotions with that memory, and they have only 2 options, pain and an absence of pain. It means that yoga is a deeper, higher, and more successful means of treating depression or any imbalance in the mind. Because if we go to a psychologist, one of the first things they start doing is bringing up all your memories. But from Yoga Darshan, we know that bringing up your memories is going to cause you pain and an absence of pain. It means we want to avoid these things. And through the practices of yoga, whether it is Ashtanga Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Tapaswadhyaya, Ishwar Pradhanani, Kriya Yoga, or whether it's Hatha Yoga, ultimately yoga takes us to that position of stable intellect, stable wisdom, where we experience not only peace, calm, quiet mind, but we experience fullness, eternal knowledge, eternal light, divinity. Patanjali goes on to say, Drashtri Drishayoho Sanyogo Heyu Hetuhu. This is really the key of what it is, why the mind is pinched. The seer and the object become joints and yoga. When the mind connects through the senses, through looking to an object, or through the ears, or through touch, or through taste, we make a connection with that object, and immediately that energy starts flowing through into the mind. And that is that attachment that comes between, that is the thing that causes pain, because it's ignorance. It's something temporary. It's external. It's not permanent. And if we want to have permanent peace and happiness, we have to seek that which is permanent. If we seek peace and happiness in temporary objects, then we'll always only experience temporary peace and happiness. It means nothing will change, and we continue in the cycle of pain and absence of pain. Patanjali also goes on to say, Tasya hetura vidya, talking about the kleshas. If we can get rid of avidya, then we will destroy that thing that causes us suffering. Avidya means na vidyate iti vidya avidya. So avidya is that thing that doesn't exist, but we perceive that it exists, but it's not the reality. So what are the kleshas? Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesh, abhinivesha. These are the 5. But really, if you look at them, the first avidya is connected to the following 4. Asmita, that I amness, that individuality, I am something, that ego. Rag, that attachment. Dvesh, hate, and abhinivesha, fear of death. These 4 are all descriptions of ignorance. And if we can deal with avidya, then we become free of the 4 kleshas. So what does Patanjali say? He says, Viveka kyatir viplava hanopayaha. What is Viveka Kyati? It's the light of knowledge. It's the discrimination. If you think about what discrimination is, it's a very simple example. Take a dog. A dog is very hungry. That dog will eat any rubbish that you put in front of it. And when the stomach is full of the dog, you can put the best food and it won't touch it. It'll just go, and it'll run away, no matter how much it loves you and how much it loves that food. But a human being, when you put in front of them old food when they're very hungry, they'll use their intellect and their discrimination to decide whether, if I wait 1 hour, 2 hours, I'll get fresh roti or not. And if they will, then they'll decide not to eat that food. So it means they can override the senses. A dog is driven by the senses. Animals are driven by the senses. They do not have the faculty of discrimination to override the senses. The human being can decide that I will wait even though I'm really hungry. You've eaten, and then your mother brings some ladus, and she says, "Ladu banaya hai, khaoge? Thoda khaiye." Have a little bit of ladu. And even though your stomach is full, you'll decide, okay, I like ladu. I have just a little bit of ladu. It means that viveka kyati is the power that we have, that light of knowledge that enables us to detach ourselves from being driven by the senses of nature. And that viveka gyati we call in the Gita sthit pragya. So Sri Krishna, when he was asked by Arjuna, how can I recognize a yogi? He answered in the following 4 shlokas. Prajahati yada kaman savan parta manogatan atmanyevatmana tushta sthit pragyastatochite dukeshu nukvamanaha sukeshu vikatspriha vetaraga bhayakrodha sthita dirmuni uchite yasavatra nabhisnai hastat prapya shipashubam nabhinandati nadeti tasya pragya pratishtita yada samharte chayam kurmongani vasavisha indriyani indriyatebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita. In here, we're seeing the description of the kleshas, we're seeing how to go beyond the vrittis, and what the tools are for doing that. Atmanyevatmana tushta, satisfied by yourself in yourself, swasta iti. Balanced in suffering and in happiness, balanced in auspiciousness and inauspicious circumstances, without raga, without attachment, without bhaya, fear, and without krodha, without anger. The thing is, there is no end to desire. There is no end to desire. After one desire, another desire comes. That's the nature of nature. There's only one option. Redirect your desire to that which is permanent. So change the direction of your desire, your attachments from the temporary to the permanent. What is the permanent? Paramatma. The permanent is Paramatma. with no limitations, that's full of knowledge, that's full of light, without any changes. So this is the only way to divert ourselves from attachment that causes pain and suffering. And that also is in the Kriya Yoga Tapaswadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. That dissolution, that surrender to the divine, that the divine is always keeping you on the right path, in the right place, at the right time, independent of your individual desires. Having that sattvic shraddha, that trust in the divine. The Gita further describes the 7 stages of downfall. And I think that this is most succinct and practical of the Gita shlokas in terms of how to free ourselves from pain. Dhyaito vishayan punsa sangasteshu bhajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bhajayate krodat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibramaha smriti pramashad buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashyati. See the very first line, it says dhyaito vishayan punsa, concentrating on the objects. This is what Patanjali has been saying also all along. We have to concentrate on something that is permanent, that's something that frees us. And that the most easy way to do that is mantra. Mananat trayate iti mantra. That thing that protects you from the cogitations of the mind. That is mantra. Veda mantra. Vidya jnane, knowledge. That knowledge changes our vibration. It resonates within us, polishing our individuality of the 3 gunas, the kleshas, our sanskaras, into that which is universal. Realizing that ekatvam anupashita, realizing that unity in diversity. If we focus on the temporary, the external objects, then what's going to happen? According to Sri Krishna, he says, sanga. And from sanga, kama, desire, rag, attachment. And notice it doesn't say fulfillment. It simply says, concentrating on the objects will spring kama, and from kama will spring krodha. So from the concentration on the external objects, getting into the sung of those objects, the upspringing of desire for those objects, the next step is krodha. Anyone who's ever seen any program about karate or judo or martial arts will know one thing. The first thing they teach you, never lose your temper. If you lose your temper, you lose the battle. But this in yoga is telling us that's the 3rd step. Or rather the 4th step. It's telling us, first of all, make sure you don't concentrate on an external object. Concentrate within, on your mantra. Otherwise, kama to krodha. And from what krodha? Anyone who's seen anyone angry knows. Delusion, sammoha. And from that delusion, you forget who you are. And when you forget who you are, who you really are, that you're a divine being, you completely and utterly destroy yourself. Prakrishtanashta pranashta. So the secret that Patanjali and Gita, Yoga Shastras, Veda, Upanishads, ityadi, is telling us, focus on that which is permanent. Use your mantra to redirect you, to protect you. And some people might say, oh, but I don't have time to do mantra, I think everybody here knows how to ride a bicycle. And everyone who can ride a bicycle might remember when they started how much they had to concentrate to ride that bicycle. But now as an adult, you can even ride your bicycle or motorbike even whilst you're on the mobile phone, or even looking backwards. In the same way, with practicing mantra, creating the sanskara of the mantra within you, it is going on, and that is guiding you what to do and what not to do in every moment. Because your breath is precious. Behind these shastras, they tell us what they're aiming. And Sankhya tells us, Atta trividya dukkha tyanta anavritya atyanta purushartha, that the aim of life is to be free of these three kinds of pain, which adibautic, adidevic, adhyatmic. And if we all know dharma, artha, kama, moksha, nam, chatushthartha, purushartha, chatushtayam. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So what is moksha? It's very simple. Moha se mukti, freedom from delusion. And dharma, yato abhyudaya tato dharma, that which uplifts you. It's very simple. Truth is very simple. We want to choose in every moment the action that is towards our aim of life, as opposed to towards nature, away from our aim of life. Because every breath is precious. No amount of money can buy a single breath. In every moment we're spending breath. But no billionaire, no crorepati can buy a single breath. So we have to use every breath wisely. And if we don't have peace in the present, then how we will have peace in the future? Our every present becomes our past, and every future becomes our present. So we want to use that every single breath to the best of our ability in every moment. In the Upanishads, it gives us a very beautiful description. You have a chariot, you have the Atma in the chariot. The horses are our senses. They're leading this chariot. But actually, our intellect, our buddhi, is the charioteer. And through the reins, which are the mind, we want to guide those horses towards our destination of eternal truth, of Paramatma. So it's our responsibility through the intellect to keep control of the ego and the mind and the senses to guide us to our real destination, moha se mukti, freedom from delusion, moksha. So what is the problem that we can't see everything correctly? Our buddhi, our intellect, is like a colorless crystal. This is the reality. You can see this in meditation. So that colorless crystal is like then seeing through our eyes, perceiving. There's a problem though. Between the eyes and the intellect, we have our mind and our ego. And these are connected to the three gunas. So imagine that one individual is like a red energy, and another individual is like a blue energy. And they have colored lenses over the intellect. So when the intellect looks at like something that's yellow, I'm trying to locate some yellow sari. We have some yellow clothes there. If red lenses are looking at yellow, what color do we get? Can anyone tell me? Red is looking at yellow. What color will be made? Can you tell me? Yeah, orange. And if blue lenses are looking at yellow, what color will it make? Green, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But the object is yellow. But everyone having like different shades of red, all are going to say that's orange. And all the different shades of blue I'm going to say it's green. Now are you seeing the problem of communication in the world? Because we don't see reality. And because the buddhi by nature is sattva buddhi, in the same way that you can't separate water from cold, fire from heat, earth from smell, in the same way we can't separate buddhi from sat. So every person believes, I am right. I am the one that's seeing the correct information. I am perceiving correctly. Everybody else in the world is wrong. This is the nature of humanity. Every single one of us has it. We can't pretend that we don't, because it's the nature of nature. So with mantra, we can polish that crystal, polish our individuality, so that we get back to that colorless crystal which sees yellow for yellow and sees red for red and blue for blue. So there are some practical techniques. I told you about mantra. In yoga we have Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Or in hatha yoga, we have also asana and pranayama. The key here is thought and breath are twins. So through pranayama, if we can take control of our mind, calm our breath to calm our mind, then we can experience peace. It's much harder to control the mind, to control the breath. And then that leads to what pratyahara, which was described in that last Gita shloka, yada samharite chayam kumanganeva savisha. So real yoga ultimately is actually meditation, where everything else is just a preparation for that. So dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, that stable intellect. And there are three types of meditation, where you can just concentrate on the forms of your letter of the mantra, because that also gives you the vibration. If that is easy, then you can concentrate on the sound as well. And when that becomes easy, then you get to understand the meaning of your mantra and be carried with the flow of the vibration of that mantra. Because liberation of the mind is the key to blissfulness. And this is what we're all seeking. And just telling you about this knowledge won't give you this knowledge, in the same way that if I tell you about a light bulb and electricity, without turning on the light, without turning on the electricity, you cannot experience light. This is experiential knowledge, and the Shastras confirm it for us. And what is the easiest and best known mantra? Omkara. It is an Udgita Shabda, as described in the Samveda, naturally uplifting. It consists of which strikes at the throat, and U at the lips, Oshta, and Ma, Om. This is naturally uplifting. This is in the physical. So in the physical, you can see that it's naturally uplifting. But in the subtle also, through the chakras, it is naturally uplifting. And then that helps us to dissolve that individuality into universality, where we can realize the unity in diversity, ekatvam anupashyata. And my favorite, I will finish with my favorite Vedic mantra. Ashta chakra, naudwara, devanam pura yodhya. This mantra from the Vedas tells us everything that we need to know about life. That we consist of 8 chakras, from the Muladhara to the Brahma chakra. That we consist of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, and 2 lower gates. We want to close those gates so that the prana goes up to the Brahma chakra. And who lives in this body? The Devatas, Devanam. The Devas are those that are giving, never taking, always giving unconditionally. And what is the name of our real body? Ayodhya. Na-yodhya, Ayodhya. That in which there are no battles. The battles that we are fighting in our minds is part of nature. it's temporary, it's avidya, it's nescience, it's ignorance. Our real existence is that of stable wisdom. In Ayodhya, where there are no battles, where we realize the unity in diversity, where we realize that light of knowledge, that Bharatiya Sanskriti, Bhayam Ratiti Bharatam, we realize that light of knowledge, that permanent knowledge, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that gives us Satchidananda, that's giving us an eternal peace and happiness. And so the Yoga Shastras, the Vedas, Upanishads, these are giving us this eternal divine knowledge so that we can know ourselves. And when we know ourselves, we can know what everyone else is, and we can live in peace and happiness, free from delusion. With that, I will conclude my talk. Hari Om Tat Sat Pranam.